What's up, guys? I'm Parker Vassau, and I'm excited to spend some time with you here at this summit. And I appreciate Brody having me on and allowing me to participate in this. I hope today I'm able to add some value and share some things that helps you guys on your journey as you're pursuing wealth. I guess the main thing I want to say is that if I can do it, you can do it. I got a 16 on the ACT test in high school. I took the test twice. A 16 is like 20th percentile on the ACT test. I'm not special, not super smart, but I was able to become a millionaire by the time I was 26 years old. I believe I was able to do that by following very simple steps, and I'm excited to share some of those with you today that hopefully can help you guys create that type of wealth. And maybe some of you guys will even be able to reach some of those benchmarks earlier than I did. So that's my goal today. Again, I'm excited to spend time with you and humbled at the chance to participate in this summit. I want to begin today by just sharing an important reminder or important lesson that I recently learned. About a year ago, my stepdad passed away, and he was a super important father figure in my life. And he died of ALS, and me and my siblings and my mom stood around him his last night here on this earth. And as I stood there and watched him basically take his last breath, there were a lot of heavy things on my heart and on my mind. But one of them was, I hope that when I'm in his shoes, my kids will be able to look to me and say, I could rely on him, and I hope that they admire me. And in order to achieve that, I was reminded of the importance of time. Time is our most valuable asset. I know this is a real estate investing seminar, and we're all super interested in real estate investing. Real estate is the vehicle for you to be able to live life on your terms and create time for yourself so that you can positively impact your loved ones and live the life that you want to live. Now, I do believe that when you're young and when you're in your 20s and 30s, you have to sacrifice now so that you can go get that and create that in the second half of your life. I like to think of life as a 4-quarter game. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're in your first quarter or two of your game. Fortunately for you, your kids and your loved ones, they don't really start keeping score super early on. And so I do recommend that you sacrifice, and there's some things that I'm going to recommend that you do to sacrifice in your early years. And that really, at the end of the day, is my story. My wife and I bought 27 units worth of real estate when we were young, and we were able to pull that off I was able to acquire the capital to participate in real estate investing, working in this industry. That's why I love summer sales. I still work in this industry. I'm the VP of sales for a pest control company, and I'm proud to still be in this industry because I believe it's the best vehicle possible to create active income to then be able to go and invest your money and create that time for yourself. So I want to begin today by teaching you a 3-step framework that I believe if you'll follow, you can become very wealthy at a young age and get that time back. The 3-step formula is this: make, manage, and multiply. Multiply, I'm going to start there at the 3rd step, is about investing, and that's mainly what I'm going to be focusing on today. But the first 2 M's I want to just touch on because the audience is in summer sales. Make stands for sales. And if you want to participate in real estate investing, I recommend that you get very good at your day job. And if you're on this call, you're probably a salesperson. Get good at sales. And as you get better, it will increase your active income and it will increase your opportunity to more quickly get into the game of investing. Manage is about leadership and systems. If you want to make more money in terms of your active income, get good as a leader. Get good at recreating yourself through people and through systems so that you can raise your active income, raise your impact, and serve more people and help them hit their goals. So I am going to be talking mainly about the 3rd M today, which is multiplication. However, investing, in my opinion, is made possible because someone has excess dollars laying around and they're then able to participate in real estate investing. So double down on your active income. So now let's get into investing, which is the 3rd M, multiplication. I want to start with just sharing a framework or an acronym that I recommend people follow if they want to get into or scale as a real estate investor. So we're going to start very high level and a little bit simple. And then as I go deeper in my presentation, I will get more granular, and I'm even going to give you some tips for some types of investing that I recommend people go and do if they're in their 20s and 30s. The acronym is this: LESGO. Let's go. L stands for learn. I applaud you for being on this call and investing your time and being here and learning from all these amazing people that are participating and sharing their knowledge. I remember the days when I was in my early 20s taking out mentors to lunch. Sometimes some of these mentors were super wealthy and I offered to buy lunch because I was so excited about learning from them. I recommend that you do that. Mentors and people that you can learn from are a shortcut in life. So you've got to learn. You've got to be able to increase your confidence in real estate investing and in this game. So when you have the capital and you're in a position to go and invest, you have confidence in your knowledge and you can be able to go make moves. E stands for earn. I've already spoken to this, but your best tool for wealth creation is your active income. I know that we're on this call because we're excited about learning about investing, but you should double down on your active income vehicle. Become a high income earner. S stands for save. I want you all to subscribe to this idea that you are poor. Even if you have 6 figures or even 7 figures in your bank account, you need to stay away from spending your money. Don't be a consumer, be a saver. Savers end up turning into investors because they've delayed gratification and put themselves in a spot to have the capital they can then go and deploy. My wife and I, in the first half of our 20s, I was making 6 figures in the summers while going to BYU, but we were living very, very frugally. And I recommend people go and do that and build that saving muscle at an early age. G stands for get qualified. So there's 3 ways that you're going to get qualified to buy real estate. Number 1 is you need to have the cash. So again, that comes back to being a saver. Number 2 is if you're 1099 and you're in summer sales, you need to show your last 2 years of tax returns. So that's what a lender is going to look at when trying to help you get qualified. So you need to prove that you can bring in the bread and bring in income and show that you can create active income. So that's going to be number 2. Number 3 is going to be your credit. When you buy real estate properly and powerfully, you're going to do it with debt. You're going to borrow money from banks. And so you need to be able to have credit to be able to prove to them that you are worth lending money to. O stands for organize your team. I'm a big believer in the who, not how principle. Before buying a property, the 2 main people that you want to have a relationship with or create one with is a really good real estate agent and a really good loan officer. And you want these people to be investor-minded people. Not all real estate agents and not all lenders are created equally. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but not all of them are operating through the lens of helping you get a really good return on your purchase of real estate. So those are the key people before buying a property that you want to go and create relationships with. Post buying your first property, it's very important to find good contractors and hopefully a good property manager so that you can continue to go do what you're good at, which is bring in income. Unless you're wanting to become a full-blown real estate investor and you want this to become your day job, you will need a good property manager as well. It is worth it. I have a manager that manages all of my rental units. I managed my own for a while and it is a lot of work. Real estate in some ways is passive, but it's more active than investing in the stock market, for example. So you want to have a property manager at some point that you can pass off your properties to, and it's worth paying them for that. Having a good team built and established will allow you to have sustainability as a real estate investor. It'll allow you to continue to scale and grow, and you should always be looking for the right who's to help you as you continue to scale and build out your real estate portfolio. Okay, so now let's get a little bit more granular with the type of strategies I recommend people choose when looking to invest in real estate. One of the superpowers that you guys have on this call is that you are young. Your youth is a superpower as an investor. Anyone in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s would say, that's in real estate would say, I just wish I would have started earlier. You hear that all the time, right? I started investing in real estate when I was 24 years old. We bought our first fourplex, my wife and I. And I say that all the time to my sales reps. I just wish I would have started earlier. So your youth is a superpower. I would recommend, this is where I would start in terms of what strategy should you choose, is I would ask yourself, what is my superpower? If you're young, that is a superpower. But even going deeper than that, are you single? Now, I love the fact that I'm married. My wife's amazing. But in some ways, being single even can be looked at as a superpower because you have more flexibility in terms of the types of strategies you can choose as a real estate investor. If you're going to house hack and live in a property and you're single, you can get away with renting the other rooms out. If you're married and you're young and you're single and you don't have kids yet, maybe you and your wife are willing to move into a duplex or a fourplex and live in one of the units and rent out the other units. This is what my wife and I did well, is we leveraged our superpower. We started in a fourplex and then lived in multiple other properties that were 2 to 4 unit rental properties, and we leveraged our superpower. We were young and nimble and didn't have kids yet, and we were willing to go do that at that stage in our life. And so I recommend people leverage their superpower. The second thing I would say is there's going to be a lot of talk in this conference about the power of cash flow. Now, I do love cash flow. However, if you are young, I do believe people should invest for growth. Similar how to in the stock market, there are value stocks and growth stocks. Real estate works very similarly. When you're investing in real estate, you can invest for growth or you can invest for cash flow. Now, sometimes I'm a little bit stubborn, and yes, I want both, but I would recommend, if you have to prioritize, I would recommend investing for growth at a young age. So what does that mean? I want to teach you about the rule of 72. The rule of 72 teaches an investor how quickly they are doubling their money. Now, let's say I'm getting a 12% return on an investment in real estate, for example. I would take that 12% and divide it into 72, and it would tell me how fast my money is doubling. I, as a real estate investor, am obsessed with the idea of how fast is my money growing. That is what I think people should be focused on as a real estate investor. So let me share a couple examples of how me and my wife have invested for growth in our 20s and 30s, and how later in life I will shift gears and I will prioritize cash flow so that I can have time to pour into the people that I love, so that I can be relied on by the people that are around me. But right now, I am delaying gratification and not currently investing for cash flow because it's not my priority. I want net worth. I want equity in these properties to build because I want to double my money and grow my net worth and then be able to transition into a cash flow investor. One example of a growth investment is simply using leverage. So my first couple of properties, I'll show a picture of my fourplex and a duplex here that I bought. These are my first 2 properties we purchased, but my down payment on these was $30,000, $40,000. But in doing so, I was able to buy $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 building at the time. And both of these buildings have appreciated $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 at this point after owning them for 7, 8 years. I took a little down payment and it helped me pick up a very valuable asset. And when the market does 5%, 10%, I'm getting a massive cash on cash return, and my money is doubling a lot quicker than it would if I were buying properties in cash, for example. So I do recommend using leverage if you're a young investor, again, using your superpower. Another reason why this strategy worked for us is we were willing to live in the property. And so we leaned into that superpower, and it allowed us to buy these properties with lesser down payments. Another growth strategy that you might consider is value add investing. I would avoid buying properties that are turnkey, that already look beautiful, because you're not going to be able to force very much growth or value as an investor when you take those types of strategies. So we have fixed up a lot of properties and taken something that is maybe a 6 out of 10 in terms of how beautiful it is and tried to turn it into like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. When we do that, we drive the equity up and we are forcing appreciation. We're not waiting for the market to appreciate naturally. We are growth-minded investors trying to increase our net worth and the value in these properties. So I'm going to show a couple of pictures of some of the renovations we have done. We have purchased some properties that were not very beautiful at the beginning. We have fixed them up, and then we turn around and we rent them and hold them long term. And that's a strategy that we love. Maybe a last example I would share with you in terms of just a growth investor is someone that's buying in good markets that are going to appreciate year over year because there's good demographics around, there's good jobs around, they're in desired areas, versus Midwest market or somewhere where it's kind of dumpy. And yes, you can get better cash flow, but you're not going to get growth through these investments. My portfolio is in Utah, Idaho, Texas, Florida, markets that are good, and in cities specifically where there are jobs, and I'm not worried about a market not appreciating. I would steer clear of places where you're chasing cash flow but not growth, especially as a young person, because again, I would remember that rule of 72 is your best friend. An example I would just share is, let's say a made-up person named Tyler buys a property in Florida, for example, and he buys it for $400,000, and he's sacrificing a little bit of cash flow, but let's say this market appreciates 5% year over year. Then let's take another person named Bob who buys a property in the Midwest in a little bit of a dumpier city, and he can get better cash flow. Let's say he buys this property for $200,000 and he gets a couple $100 here and there extra in cash flow, but the market there only appreciates maybe 1 to 2% year over year. In 10 years, let's say both of these investors buy these properties at the same age of 25 years old. When they're 35 years old, the person that bought the property in Florida will have a much healthier net worth and equity value in his property than the person that bought it in the Midwest. And so I believe, although I'm sacrificing cash flow short term, in the long term stage, when I'm in that place of my life where my kids start keeping score and I need my time, I can then transition into being a cash flow investor, maybe changing my priorities up. So in conclusion, I would recommend you invest for growth and leverage your superpower. So tying this all together, again, when I'm in that seat that my stepdad was in, I just want to be able to be the type of person that can be relied on, and I want to be loved by the people that are closest to me. And I believe in order to do that for any of us in our lives, we need time. So tying this all together, I do believe there are simple steps that you can follow. Time is your best friend. I would chase growth early and sacrifice those early years to try to build as much net worth as I possibly can. And my pathway to go pull that off is to make money through sales, get really good at my day job, manage people, manage systems, bless their lives, pour into them, help them. And if I get really good at those, I'm going to have excess dollars laying around so that I can then become a participant in investing. And that's how I'm going to multiply my money and make money while I sleep at night, if you will. That is what will create freedom and time for you to be able to go impact and love on the people that are around you. And I know that none of us want to have regrets at the end of our lives. I do believe if you'll follow these steps properly, you can build a dream life that you won't regret. You'll be able to live life on your terms and achieve your goals and your dreams. I hope some of the things that I've shared today have been helpful for you. Again, I appreciate Brody for having me participate in this. If anyone needs help or wants to touch base, I'm going to link my information. I'll have it on the screen here. I'd love to stay in contact and help in any way that I can.